Alrighty. Welcome, I'm Sheriff John Rutherford, and I want to welcome you to our first JSO live internet call-in show. And this is an opportunity for me to directly interface with the Jacksonville community. And we think this is important for several reasons. To be transparent for the community, gives me an opportunity to speak directly to the public, which I love that opportunity, which because of the limitations of the normal media, we don't have that opportunity. And I will remind you, if you would like to ask a question, you can call in at 630-1832 during the show, or you can Twitter at JSOPIO, and also you can follow us on Facebook at Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. So those are ways that during the show you can actually send your questions in, call your questions in, and get an answer directly from the sheriff. And I think it's important that we be able to do that. You know, transparency goes a long way toward public trust. And one of the things that we've tried to do here at the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office is be very transparent, be in direct communication with the public, like this call-in show, live call-in internet show. But also, I do walks every other month, go out into the community, walk, knock on doors, talk to the public. It's a great way to really keep your finger on the pulse of the community and what's going on out there. But Jacksonville is 840 square miles. I can't walk every neighborhood. So this gives us an opportunity to reach out to even more folks in our community. As I mentioned, the media has limitations. Oftentimes I'll sit and be interviewed by the media for 20, 25 minutes, and 30 seconds to 60 seconds sometimes of that interview will actually make it onto the air. And so what we do here at JSO, and we have done for several years now, is while I'm being interviewed, my staff, my public information officers, they actually record the media recording me. And so we take that entire interview, all of the questions that they ask in their entirety, all of my answers in its entirety, and we put that on our website. You can go to JAXSHERIFF.org, JAXSHERIFF.org, and in the left-hand column, click on Newsroom, and you can see every press conference that I host in its entirety, every interview that I do with the media in its entirety. And I think that's important because you know, they do have time limitations on the local media, and this gives us an opportunity to get the entire story out. So this there's another opportunity to interact with the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, and that's through our YouTube. You can go to www.youtube.JAXSHERIFF and also see all of the videos that we shoot throughout the agency during different times. And so that gives you more information about what's going on with your Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. And with that, I'll now ask Melissa, do we have any questions yet?
Sheriff, we have a question from Facebook from a Chiquita Crumby. She says, I'm willing to give extra tax money for more police officers in Jacksonville. What needs to happen so that we can get more police?
Thank you, Chiquita. You know, that's the challenge that the City Council is faced with right now. The mayor in this budget put the line item in there for 40 new police positions, to restore 40 of those police positions, and also to restore 40 of the community service officer positions. However, they did borrowing and other things to make that funding available for those positions. And the City Council understands we can't borrow our way into prosperity. And so they've now cut those. But let me tell you how important I think those officers are and why we need to set restoring these officers, both the police officers and the community service officers, why that's so important. Look, back in if you remember, back in 2007, 2008, our violent crime began to spike. We started the Jacksonville Journey under Mayor Payton. in that process, we began to bring on additional police officers that an operational study of the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, conducted by an outside consultant, had determined we needed to add 225 police officers to our police force. At that time, we had 1,603 police officers. So to get to that number, we would have been around 1,825 police officers needed for the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office to properly protect this community. By 2011, after the Jacksonville journey, we had actually gotten up to 1,750 of those police officers of that 1,825, and we had 92, or approximately 92, community service officers. And so we began to see violent crime in this community dropping in record numbers. In fact, in 2011, we had the lowest crime numbers Jacksonville had going all the way back to 1971. We had the lowest murder numbers going all the way back to 1971, and possibly before. We just couldn't go any further back. But 1971, that's amazing that we were able to accomplish that. But it's because we had the resources. We had 1,750 police. We had 92 community service officers. And then in 2011, we began to cut. Because of the recession that started in 2008, we began to cut again. And we've cut now 147 police positions. All 92 community service officers are gone. Like I told the media, those folks who were out there having to wait 2.5 hours on a traffic crash, I'm sorry, but FHP has to take responsibility for those state roads. We can't do it anymore, and so they're going to have to wait on FHP. FHP has been a great partner. They've stepped up. They're trying to do all that they can, but those long waits are because of these cuts. And so we need to begin restoring 147 police positions and 92 community service officer positions. The mayor didn't truly fund this, and that's why the council had to cut them. And so I'm hoping that as we go through the budget, that the council will be able to find the money, because I think this is the #1 priority in Jacksonville. Look, we started Operation Ceasefire a few months ago when all of the increased violence began in the northwest quadrant of the city, and I had to go to the city council and tell them, look, some of you are going to be Peter, some of you are going to be Paul, because we're getting ready to rob Peter to pay Paul. And I moved officers from other areas of town into what we call the ceasefire zone, and we've had tremendous success. Our violent crime has gone down in that area, our murders are down in that area, and it's been successful. So we know everywhere we put resources, crime goes down. And so, Chiquita, I appreciate you for supporting that. Contact your council members. It's in their hands now. The mayor's handed them the budget that he did. It's in their hands now, and I would appreciate your support in that.
Sheriff,
what else we have?
We have a caller on the phone. Her name is Renee. She identified herself as a city employee, and she has a question reference the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office DART unit. We're just going to wait for that call to come in.
Hello, Renee.
It's not in yet. We're still waiting for it.
Oh, okay.
First one.
All right.
Let's see. But in the meantime, we can talk about Arlene Dockery. She had a message. We'll go back to Renee.
Whoops.
She has a question about DART.
Hello, Renee.
Hi, Sheriff. How are you?
Hey, I'm doing well, thanks. You're on our live internet chat.
Great. I have a question.
Sure.
Is the DART unit, will it still be active this coming year?
Yes, it will be. Listen, I think the DART team, which stands for Drug Abatement Response Team, is very important. They go out, they go to mainly places where drugs are being sold. We look at the properties, and we use a holistic approach to trying to shut down a drug house, and the DART team is a big piece of that.
Thank you for calling, Renee.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you, Renee.
All right, bye-bye.
we'll go back to Arlene Dockery. She messaged us on our Facebook page, which is Jacksonville Sheriff's Office. I want to mention anyone who wants to post a message for the sheriff, you can post to our Jacksonville Sheriff's Office Facebook page and also tweet us at JSOPIO if you have any questions, and we'll try to get them on the air live. But Arlene Dockery has a question about the crime in Arlington. She says it's getting worse, and is there a reason and what can be done?
Hello, Eileen. Yes, I'm very familiar with the increasing crime in Arlington. That's part of the issue that I was just speaking with Chiquita about, and that is the need to restore these police officers that have been cut over the last 3 years when we had crime in Arlington going down in significant numbers. Since we've had to cut all those officers, Arlington is one of the areas that we had to pull officers from to send to the Northwest Quadrant to stop the tremendous increase in violent crime that we had there. So it's almost like JSO has to play whack-a-mole with violent crime. We send resources to one area of town, drive it down, it pops up in another. We'll be sending it over there, and I know Assistant Chief John Lamb would appreciate your assistance. One of the things that you can do for us is call and tell us when you see things. Encourage other members in the Arlington area, citizens, to call us as well when they see something going on. Become a SHADCO member. Join our SHADCO, our Sheriff's Advisory Council. We have a very active SHADCO over in Arlington, and I would encourage you to get involved that way and help us reduce the crime in Arlington. Anything else, Eileen? Oh, that was online,
No,
wasn't
it's
it?
Facebook.
I'm sorry, that was Facebook.
But
So thank you.
She's watching, so she got your answer. We have a message from Candace, who posted to Twitter about the pension. Do you feel there is a resolution in the future?
Candace, there has to be a resolution in the future because, quite frankly, it can't continue the way it has over these last 20 years. And look, this entire pension issue is something that I think the public needs to be better informed on. For example, how did we get here? How did we get to a $1.6, $1.7 billion unfunded liability in the police and fire pension fund? And something that you may not know is there's almost $1 billion unfunded pension liability on the general employees pension fund. Now, a lot of people want to blame, they say, well, the benefits for the police are so rich that's the problem. Well, I can tell you in September of 2008, the Florida Times Union did a study of pension benefits for law enforcement agencies just in the state of Florida. Our police and fire pension benefits were very middle of the road at that time, still are. And I throw out the issue that if you look at the general employees pension fund and realize that it's also almost $1 billion in debt, why is that? Are you trying to tell me that they have the largest or the best pension benefits in the country as well? No, certainly not. And so it's not about the benefits, it's about the way it's been funded. And that's the problem, and that's what has to be fixed. And just to give you an example, beginning in 1993, when the city signed this 30-year contract with the Police and Fire Pension Fund, everything that the pension earned over 8.5% was to go into a pension reserve fund. And everything that the pension earned over 8.5% was going into that fund. And that's when mayors began to take money out of that fund as we rolled back the ad valorem property tax rate here in Duval County. And so as they rolled that millage rate down and down and down from 11.03 all the way down to 9.65 over about a 13-year period, the city took out of the excess pension reserves principal and interest $274 million. $274 million that was taken out of the excess pension reserves. So this is not just about benefits. It's also about how did we get here? And to think that we should completely fund getting out of this on the backs of the city employees, whether they're police and fire or general employees, is absolutely wrong. And that's why this whole concept of shared sacrifice, I think, is so important. And that is, the city is going to have to sacrifice, the employees are going to have to sacrifice, we're going to have to cut some benefits. We've reached that point. But we also need to make a commitment going forward to fully fund it. Now, when Stephen Jost was council president, the city council passed an ordinance that the city can no longer take those excess pension reserves and do what they wish with it. They can't do that any longer. So at least they fixed that part of the pension problem.
All right.
Thank you, Candace.
We have a call coming in from Joanne from downtown. She wants to talk to you about speeding. They're sending the call over right now.
All righty.
Joanne from downtown.
Hello, Joanne.
Hey, Sheriff.
Hey, how are you?
I'm good. We have problems with speeders in our neighborhood constantly. What can be done about that?
Okay. What area of town are you in, Joanne?
I live on the south side in the San Jose area.
Okay. I tell you, the best thing to do, have you heard of our SHADCO program?
A little bit.
Okay, if you go to our website at JAXSHERIFF.org and click on Join SHADCO, in fact, this month, next month actually, the month of September is going to be our new recruitment month for all of our SHADCOs. And we're asking people to go online and visit http://tinyurl.com/JSO SHADCO. I think it'd be easier if you just went to our website,
Okay.
JAXSHERIFF.org. Just go to JAXSHERIFF.org, click on SHADCO, join our SHADCO, and that stands for Sheriff's Advisory Council. And what we do, Joanne, is every month the leadership from your geographic area of the city sits down with people from that area and talk about different issues in the community, whether it's speeding or some crime or whatever it might be. And that's a great way for you to interface with the law enforcement agency and officers in your area of town, specific to your area of town.
And I can just share any problems I'm having in my neighborhood with.
Absolutely. It's a great place to take chronic problems. You know, if you have chronic trespassing or whatever it might be. But I would encourage you to get involved in your SHADCO, your Sheriff's Advisory Council. And the Assistant Chief Mike Johnson is in charge of that area. You can also call him at the Zone 3 office, and he can help you out there as well.
If we have, like, code enforcement problems or things that's not really law enforcement related, can they help with that also, or connect us to the office that can help?
Yes. Joanne, I tell all of our assistant chiefs who are at these meetings that the important thing is we make the public understand that even if it's not a law enforcement problem, we can be the catalyst to get things done. And so we can assist them in getting street lights fixed, you know, holes, potholes, busted up sidewalks, whatever it might be. I don't care what it is. If it's a quality of life issue, we want to partner with that community to get it done. And so we can be a tremendous resource for things that aren't even related to law enforcement.
Okay. Well, I will certainly do that. Thank you, Sheriff.
Thank you, Joanne.
All right. Bye-bye.
All right, Sheriff, we have a message from two different people on Facebook, something that's been really big in the media lately. The first question is Donio Rivera from Facebook. He asks, is this purge thing on August 31st a legitimate threat or a hoax? And then Asher Carson has a similar question. What can JSO tell us about this purge that is supposedly going to take place August 31st? How seriously is JSO taking the threat, and what info can JSO share?
Well, thank you. And thank you for bringing this up, because it is very timely. August 31st is the date that was placed on the purge flyer that's been all over the internet for the city of Jacksonville. I can tell you, the Jacksonville Sheriff's Office, we're staying on top of all of this and all of the media discussion back and forth about it, using our normal street resources to stay in touch with what's going on in the community. I can tell you this is something that it's been all over the country. There's been no violence attached to it. It's one of these, I would call it an internet myth, but you have to take these things serious. We can't just ignore it. So we are taking precautions and trying to gather as much intelligence out of the community as we can, in case somebody does try to take advantage of the situation and try to tie it to that. But there's no credibility in the threat at this time. And we've cautioned the media to not blow this thing out of proportion. The fact that it has been in many cities who've had no violence, I think they're tying it back to the actual movie that's coming out, the sequel portion of The Purge that is coming out. So I would, somebody asked me the other day, what should I do? I said, just do what you always do, but be cautious as take your normal precautions that you should always take when you're out and about in any community.
All right.
So thank you all.
Susan Baker Singer has posted a couple different questions on Facebook, but they're all in relation to the same thing. She wants to ask about last year's unsolved murders, specifically Megan, Jasmine, Amber Bass, what's being done to solve these cases, and she doesn't feel that we are working on them is relevant anymore. She wants more answers.
Yeah, listen, Susan, I can tell you as Sheriff of Duval County, I don't even like the term cold case because none of these cases are cold to me. We are constantly looking for leads to follow up on and bring justice to some of these families who have lost loved ones and who have not had that closure yet, and so we work very hard on those. I'll remind you, we actually went back and were able to get a federal grant that allowed us to go back and look at cases that were over 20 years old in some cases, and we were actually able to solve some of those cases by going through and newly developed DNA processing allowed us to make some arrests from a couple murders that happened. I think one was over 23 years ago. So look, we never stop looking. We stay in contact with the families. We also stay in contact with the Justice Coalition. They provide an amazing service to this community. They stay in touch with the families of these the survivors of these victims of murder. They stay in touch with them, letting them know how the system works, particularly when it starts going into prosecution, and they perform a very valuable service to this community. But Susan, we never, ever stop looking and working these cases. Somebody out there has information. We want it. We're looking for it. Sometimes it's as simple as somebody getting picked up on a charge that they want some leniency on, and that's when they may want to talk to us, and that's when we get leads that eventually lead to an arrest. And so we're always looking. I don't even like, as I said, I don't even like the term cold case. None of them are cold as far as I'm concerned.
And thank you, Susan, for that Facebook post. We have a call coming in. His name is Pete, and he's calling from the west side, and he's calling about gangs in Jacksonville.
Is it Keith?
Pete.
Pete.
Yes, sir. How are you doing, Sheriff?
Hey, doing well, thanks.
Good, good. I have a question.
Yes.
The media portrays that there's a gang problem in Jacksonville. Is that as serious as they portray it to be, and should I be concerned for my family?
Well, Pete, listen, we have gangs in Jacksonville. Now, we don't have the national gangs that many large cities have. We have what we call neighborhood gangs. But yes, they are significant in number. But that's a good thing, and I'm going to tell you why. We've worked very hard over the last several years. We got a piece of legislation passed a few years ago that now allows us to, if we can actually certify someone as a gang member, then we can actually use RICO, which is Racketeering Influence Corrupt Organization, a federal charge against all the members of a gang who are involved in a criminal enterprise. And so it's to our benefit and we got this legislation passed that allows us to now certify these folks as gang members, and that's why our numbers of gang members have gone up. We want to certify more of these people so that we can use RICO. We've been very successful with it against, and I'm not going to name the gangs, but there's a couple that we've been very successful with RICO prosecutions, and it's having an impact out there. So do you need to be concerned about them as a family member or for your family? I don't believe so, unless you're in the drug trade. That's really where all this is at. It's in the drug world. And I tell folks about murder in general in Jacksonville. If you're not slinging dope, if you're not hanging around with people that are carrying guns illegally, and you treat your spouse right, your chances of being murdered are pretty slim in Jacksonville. So as long as you're not in that world, no, I don't think you need to worry about it.
Okay. Well, thank you very much, sir.
Okay, Pete.
Bye.
We're waiting on more calls to come in. We do have a Facebook message from a Carl Dendy, and he posted to our Jacksonville Sheriff's Office Facebook page, how many more police cars can we get on the street? He doesn't seem to be seeing as many, and will he be seeing more?
Yeah, Carl, that's what we were talking about earlier, about trying to restore these 147 police positions that have been cut by this mayor's office over the last 3 years. 147 police, all 92 community service officers. We need to start restoring those resources back so that you see those cars out there on the street. The reason it seems like there are fewer police cars out there is because there are 147 police and 92 community service officers. So contact your councilman, let them know that you support the restoration of at least 40 of these officers this year in the budget, and 40 community service officers as well. And thank you, Carl.
The next person we have on the phone, his name is AJ. He's calling from the south side of Jacksonville, and his question is how to bridge the gap between community and the police, reference the unsolved murders. They're sending them through now. You should hear it ring.
Hello, AJ.
Hey, Sheriff Rushford, this is AJ with Mad Dad. How you doing?
Hey, doing well, thanks.
Good. Do I ask my question now?
Yeah, sure. Go right ahead.
Okay. Well, my question is, how can we continue to bridge the gap between community and police to get the community to step forward in these unsolved crimes, specifically murder? You know, as you know, Mad Dad's out there with the sheriff's department sometimes walking door to door with y'all, trying to get the community to come forward. So we just looking for some more suggestions and answers to get the community to step forward.
Yeah, absolutely, AJ. And listen, Mad Dads is another group that is shoulder to shoulder with law enforcement, trying to help solve these unsolved murders. They work with us regularly, and I'm very proud of that relationship. Look, it's all about building relationships into the community, and we have to continue to do that in every way possible, whether it's through the SHADCO, whether it's through our Neighborhood Watch program, whether it's through my sheriff's walks. Can we cut that off, whatever that is? Oh, that's it? Hey, AJ, you got something in the background. Can you cut that off? AJ? Hey,
Yes, sir.
Hey, there we...
I think you're listening on your computer. Can you shut your computer off because we're getting a lot of reverb?
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Okay. Thanks, buddy. But
You're welcome.
yeah. But AJ, the sheriff's walks, all of the ways that we try to be transparent with the community and enlist their aid is outreach to try and get the community to partner with us. And look, I have to tell you, and I want to say this about all of the groups that are out there working with us: Mad Dads, the Justice Coalition, the Pace Center for Girls, the Police Athletic League, and the list goes on and on. I Help Parents program. All of these programs are having an impact, and people need to realize that. And you know, when I go out and speak to groups, I particularly when I'm speaking to groups that I know are folks who are going out every day trying to make a difference in this community. One of the things that I want them to understand is this: look, it's working. It's working. What all of these groups, what Mad Dad is doing, what the Police Athletic League is doing, it's working. And the evidence of that is the fact that we are at a 43-year low of crime in our community. Now, it doesn't feel like it, because I think as the frequency of violent crime has gone down, the severity of violent crime has actually gone up. So we see more murders, you know, we have here lately. Now, even in 2011, look, in 2011 we had the lowest murder numbers. We had 71. That's the lowest murder numbers we had going all the way back to 1971. That is significant. Let me give you our total violent crime numbers. This is amazing. We hit a high in 2007. Now, it was higher, you know, back in the 80s and early 90s, but in 2007, we had 8,146 violent crimes. In 2011, we had 5,182 violent crimes. That's an amazing reduction. But the problem is, after we made those great reductions, beginning in 2011, we started cutting these officers. And you can see the violent crime starting to go back up. In fact, it's gone up from 5,182 to now last year, this year we're projected to be at 5,500. Last year we were at 5,246. So it's all about working with the community. And what I want you to know is, AJ, it's working.
Okay, we appreciate that.
Thank you, AJ.
Thank you.
Thank you. Y'all have a great day, and thank you, Sheriff Rucker.
Thank you. You too, AJ.
We have a message from Phil Rogers from Facebook. It's sort of what you've already been talking about, Sheriff, but he wants to know, are we going to get, and he puts in capital letters, more officers this budget?
Well, I certainly hope so. That's what I'm fighting for. Although the mayor put them in the budget, they borrowed the money to do just about everything in the budget, and that's what the city council is dealing with now. There's a tremendous hole in this budget that they are trying to fill. But the significance of that, let me give you some other numbers. I just threw out the total violent crime numbers. Listen to this number. The 8 quarters before we made all these cuts of 147 police and 92 community service officers, we had 128 murders in the 8 quarters before that. Now that's, you know, almost 2 years. Since then, the 8 quarters after we made those cuts, it's gone to 171. That is a 34% increase in just murder since we cut these officers. And this year, our mid-year report that we sent to FDLE for our uniform crime reports shows our murder up 54%. So these officers make a difference, and we need to begin restoring them. I'm doing all I can to restore them begin restoring them in this budget. Look, we didn't lose all of them in one fell swoop. We're not going to get them all back in one fell swoop. But I think it's very important that we begin to restore those officers in this budget cycle, 40 police and 40 community service officers. And that's what we're going to work with the council to try and make sure happens. And I would ask you to please contact your councilman and tell them how important you think the restoration of these cut police officers is to public safety in our community. Because I can tell you, everywhere I put resources, crime goes down.
All right, we have another Facebook post. Our social media seems to be where people are putting their information and questions. Angie Lyles Payton says, Sheriff Rutherford, thank you for your many, many years of service to our community. As you are preparing for your retirement, she has 2 questions. What would you like to see in your predecessor, and what is your humble opinion should be the first task they address?
Oh, wow. Well, what I would like to see in my predecessor, look, certainly you have to have all of the law enforcement experience in connections to the community. But I think also it's important that the individual have the honesty, the integrity, and quite frankly, the temperament for the job. And that is very important. I have thrown my support behind a fellow named Mike Williams for that very reason, because I believe he has not only the law enforcement experience, the major case investigation experience, which makes him, I think, shoulders above the others in the race, but he also has the character and the integrity and the temperament for it, I believe, and I think that's important. And what was the second part of that, Melissa?
What's the first task you'd like to see them address?
They're going to have to continue to address, I think, this issue of restoration of resources. And that's why in the past I have included all of my directors in the budget process now, so that whoever my predecessor is, they can go in and make those good budget fights, know the numbers. You've got to get into the numbers, you got to know the numbers. And you know, we've got to restore these resources. I think that is the primary focus right now. And then, of course, one way that you do that is you also continue to push lean within our organization. We're one of the first law enforcement agencies in the country to go lean. We're a member of the First Coast Consortium on lean, and that is a practice of using Six Sigma, 5Y, 5S, those sorts of budget cutting processes to really lean out your organization and save taxpayer dollars. And we have saved tens of millions of dollars for the taxpayers by being a lean organization. And so I think those are the things that they're going to have to challenge first. Whoever the predecessor is, he's got to get his hands around the resources, because it's resources that will reduce crime. And that's our primary mission, is reducing crime. And I should mention our Department of Corrections and reducing recidivism. And of course, you need the resources to do that as well. And so I would say getting the resources to do the job of fighting crime and reducing recidivism.
All right, we've answered all the questions. We don't have any calls holding.
All right.
Anything you want to bring up and talk
Yes. Yeah. Listen, in November, the state of Florida is going to make a very important decision. Folks have talked about medical marijuana, like putting medical in front of marijuana somehow makes it more palatable. But listen, and if you look at the the constitutional amendment petition form, I think it's very telling. In the ballot summary that most people are going to see, you're presented with the idea that medical marijuana, we want to pass medical marijuana for debilitating medical conditions. Well, look, fact of the matter is, if you were to ask me or any of the other 67 sheriffs in Florida, would you support medical marijuana for a debilitating medical condition like ALS? Yes, we would. Look, I would support it even if you had to smoke it. Because if you can relieve someone's pain and suffering, if it's a family member of mine, and I can relieve their pain and suffering by them smoking medical marijuana, I would be fine with that. But listen, this is not what this is about. That's in the ballot summary where it talks about debilitating medical conditions. But let me tell you, if you go down into the body of that, and I have the form right here, if you go down into the body of that, I'm going to read you exactly what the definition of a debilitating medical condition is. And here it goes. Debilitating medical condition means cancer, glaucoma, positive status for human immunodeficiency virus, acquired immune deficiency syndrome, hepatitis C, ALS, Crohn's disease, Parkinson's disease, multiple sclerosis, and here comes the fraud in this entire medical marijuana issue. Or other conditions, any other condition. Other conditions for which a physician believes that the medical use of marijuana would likely outweigh the potential health risk for a patient. Folks, what that means is any condition. Tennis elbow, I got a sore back, I've got anxiety, I've got, anything. Now, you may remember the pot shop, or the pill shops, the pill mills that were out there all over this community. We were able to get the prescription drug monitoring database and shut those down. Everywhere we had a pill mill, we're now going to have a pot shop. And I don't believe that this medical marijuana for debilitating conditions is really the way to go. Now, you may know that this year, through the legislature, in fact, we just gave an award to Senator Bean yesterday. You can go to our YouTube site and see that award that we gave to Senator Bean for his assistance in passing Charlotte's Web, which is an extract of marijuana that's proven to be very successful in treating intractable epilepsy in children. Very successful. We supported that initiative, but that was through the legislature, and all of the questions about that were vetted properly. And that's the way medical marijuana needs to go, is a proper vetting through the legislature, not a constitutional amendment where people are being misled about what it even means. This referendum is not about debilitating medical conditions. It's about anything. It's really about recreational marijuana. If there's supposed to be some comfort in the fact that doctors are going to be prescribing it, first of all, you need to know this. Doctors will not prescribe it because you can't go to a pharmacist to get it. Pharmacists will not be dispensing this medical marijuana. You'll have to go to a medical marijuana state-certified dispensary to pick it up. Who knows what the requirements are going to be on that, other than they have to be 21 years old to run one of these sites. In addition to that, there's no parental notification required. So my child, who's 17, in school, says, hey, goes to a doctor, like one of the doctors that ran our pill mills, and says, hey, I've got anxiety about testing. I need some medical marijuana. Yep, okay, here you go. And they give them a certificate to go to a certified dispensary to pick it up. You as a parent do not have to be notified. That is just, it's incredulous to me that is the situation. And let me point out one other thing about this. The producers of the marijuana can never be sued. The distributors of the marijuana can never be sued. The only people in this entire process that can be sued for any act that occurs by someone is the parent of a juvenile who is on medical marijuana, let's see, you can't sue the physician, you can't sue the treatment center. The only one that you can sue is the individual and the parent. So that tells you some of the problems with this. And listen, there are tons of studies out there that will tell you marijuana has a debilitating effect on a developing brain. These young folks, when your brain is developing, if you smoke marijuana, you increase, and one study showed it increased your risk of developing schizophrenia 41%. That's an amazing impact on these young developing brains. And I know many of the people from my generation say, well, look, we smoke marijuana, it's no big deal. Listen, the marijuana of today is not the marijuana of the 1960s. It's different. It's 20 to 30 times stronger. There's not a single organization. The American Medical Association is opposed. The American Psychiatric Association is opposed. There's a great organization that's been put together to fight this amendment. It's the Don't Let Florida Go to Pot initiative. Please go look at their website. You can get all of this information there and see that this is truly a fraud that they are trying to perpetrate on the citizens of Florida. When you tell me in the ballot summary that everybody's going to read that this allows the use of medical marijuana for individuals with debilitating diseases as determined by a Florida physician, no, it's not. It's not for debilitating medical conditions. I read you that definition. It's for anything they want to prescribe it for, and that's what's going to happen. We're going to have pot shops where we have pill mills, and Florida does not need to go to pot. So that's my rant on that. I'm going to tell you, I'm highly upset about this because I think it's a fraud, and I'm amazed that the state Supreme Court did not throw this out as misleading, because it is clearly misleading to the voters when you ask somebody, do you support medical marijuana for debilitating medical conditions, and they say yes, but you don't tell them that it's not just for debilitating medical conditions, it's for any condition, anything. So I'm adamantly opposed to it, and I hope you will be too, and talk to your friends and neighbors about it. I'm going to tell you, if this passes in November, if Proposition 2 passes in November, we'll have medical marijuana in every backpack in every school in Duval County. Mark my words. So, do we have any other?
There's nothing on standby.
All right. Well, we are
15 minutes.
Okay.
Thank everybody who took the time to watch. This is going to air. We're planning on the third Thursday of every month to tune in. So we want to thank everybody for watching. Anything else you want to say, Sheriff? Okay. Yeah. Let me close by thanking everyone for listening today and being with us. This is a great opportunity. I love being able to take questions directly from the public and respond directly to the public. And so I would ask you, look, I think it's very important that our sheriffs remain elected. There's moves throughout the state to have sheriffs appointed, and I can tell you, it's important that the person that you should be able to vote for and elect the person who someday may take away your constitutional rights. That's very important. And as citizens, never give up that right to vote for your elected sheriff. It's very, very important to good public safety in our community. I work for you. I don't work for a mayor. I don't work for a city council. I work for you, the public, and you are the ones that I am accountable to. And I thank you for being here with us, and look forward to talking with you next month. Everybody have a great day.